In this episode, we uncover the rise and fall of Khayelitsha's most notorious extortionists, the man who seized power in the chaos after the 2020 COVID-19 lockdowns. Now Bara, who was the ruler of Site C, met his end in a hail of shots during a shootout with the police in the Eastern Cape. Then Piri, who was once Bara's enemy, who later controlled X section inside B, was sentenced to 7 life terms after laying down 7 people at the rivals party in Khayelitsha. And Stixs, a feared Boko Haram gang leader from Gugulethu, who was taken out by police after being released on bail for the heads of 4 people. Now this is a story of how Cape Town Township extortion kingpins rose to power and how they fell. But with their fall came a dangerous vacuum. New groups are now rising and seizing territory by force. And with their violent takeover, another wave of mass shootings has begun to sweep across the Cape Flats.
A mass murder incident in Khayelitsha.
And I lost all my family in one day.
The accused, together with others, made a grand entrance, carrying big and small guns, and shot randomly at attendees.
It was the latest mass shooting in the area.
In a separate incident, another triple murder was reported in Samora Machel.
Since 2020, Khayelitsha has been gripped by extortion gangs. The COVID-19 lockdown only sped up their rise. As jobs disappeared and survival became harder, the only businesses still running were small shops selling food and essentials. For the gangs, these shops, especially those ran by Somali traders, became the perfect targets. Extortion turned into their most reliable source of income. Shop owners quickly learned the cost of saying no. Those who refused to pay became examples, and the rest fell in line to protect their lives and businesses. Soon, other gangs realized extortion was much safer and more profitable than robberies. They joined in, and before long, the township became a battlefield for control. Territory wars erupted, and with them, violence, bloodshed, and mass shootings became common. It all began with Boko Haram, the original extortion gang in Khayelitsha. But soon, a breakaway group of younger men emerged. They called themselves the Guptas. What started as rivalry between 2 gangs quickly splintered further, with new subgroups forming, some aligned with Boko Haram and others with the Guptas. While a few wanted independence, each wanted power, each wanted turf, and the result was chaos. Within these gangs, a few names rose to the top. There was Bara, who controlled Site C. Then there was China, running the X section of Site B. Now China was linked to Piri, who was Bara's sworn enemy. Now inside C, another figure emerged, Ido, who challenged Bara's dominance and had the backing of the 28s in his war against him. And from Gugulethu came Stixs, a shot caller and a leader within the Boko Haram gang. And he was once a close ally of Bara before the streets turned them into rivals. But here's the truth, none of these men were operating alone. Each of them had handlers, people above them who pulled the strings. That's how they had access to heavy hammers when needed. That's how they stayed one step ahead of the law, with police tipping them off about raids and investigations. Now these handlers gave them power, protection, and money. If you dig deep enough, you'll find that behind these gangsters stood politicians and businessmen with powerful political ties. These young shot callers had a firm grip on Cape Town's townships. They controlled the extortion records and in some cases, even the dope trade. Many of them were tied to the taxi industry. Now Bara, for example, was said to have worked as a hitman for powerful taxi bosses before becoming a taxi owner himself. Now his reputation as an enforcer was strong, even at a young age. Now in the community, people came to him with their problems, especially crimes. For a fee, Bara would fix things. He even set up a container office near the Site C taxi rank where anyone could come and see him. Now to some, he was like a gangster policeman, but while he solved problems, he was also extorting the very same people. Bara's name hit national headlines when he and his co-accused were arrested for the mass shooting inside B and Site C. The bloodshed started after one of Piri's allies tried to challenge Barra's gang. The rival shot and took out one of Barra's men after he had collected protection money from a shop both gangs wanted to control. Now Barra's response was ruthless. He unleashed a massacre, laying down 12 people in a single day. The story dominated headlines for months. Barra was arrested, but justice slipped through the cracks. 2 key witnesses were taken out, and the last remaining witness gave such inconsistent testimony in court that the case collapsed. Barra walked free, but his day was coming. Every criminal empire eventually crumbles, and these kingpins were no exception. After Barra walked free from the massacre of 12 people, he became convinced he was untouchable. Instead of slowing down, he expanded his empire and set his sights onto the Eastern Cape. Now the law failed to bring him down. Witnesses disappeared, cases collapsed, and justice slipped through his fingers. Now in the end, the only way they could stop him was through force. Then in February of 2020, Barra's reign ended when he was laid down by the NIU in the Eastern Cape. Then there was Stixs, a Boko Haram gang leader and a feared shot caller from Gugulethu. His reputation as an enforcer was too strong as well. He was linked to Cajun transit robberies alongside Barra, and his extortion records stretched from Gugulethu, Khayelitsha and Nyanga. He was even said to have exchanged fire with police on the N1 near Paarl around 2022. But one of his darkest cases came in June of 2022, a mass shooting when he was accused of taking out 4 people and injuring 5 more in Gugs. Now despite the brutality of the crime, Stixs was released on bail. Not long after, police checked him driving from Nyanga to Khayelitsha. When they tried to pull him over, he refused. Eventually, he stopped, but with his gun already drawn, aimed at the police. Now that was his final mistake. Stixs was eliminated on the spot. The truth is, Stixs was never going to stop. He lived by violence and he died by it. The fact that he walked free on bail even after the mass shootings and 4 hits showed the obvious that someone, somewhere, was protecting him. Then there was China, who was closely affiliated with Piri and primarily ran X section inside B. Now China was arrested in Mfuleni after an intense investigation. He is suspected of being behind more than 10 hits and at least 5 attempted hits in Khayelitsha and Lingalethu West between 2021 and 2024. China is believed to be responsible for the hit of Constable Akho Nzingo in Khayelitsha in June of 2024. During a nighttime patrol, police spotted a suspicious man walking alone. When they tried to stop him, he opened fire and fled. The officers returned fire, but he escaped. Moments later, they discovered that their colleague had been shot in the chest, just above his bulletproof vest. China's actions cost the police officer his life, and now he faces the possibility of decades behind bars for this case alone. Barra's arch-rival was Piri, one of the leaders of the Gupta's gang, along with his right-hand man, whose surname is Beja. Now Piri's downfall began after a fallout with one of his own associates, Ndera, from Khayelitsha's side B. Now the dispute was over money and territory. Now Ndera owned an illegal shebeen, and on his birthday, friends and family gathered to celebrate. Piri and Beja saw it as the perfect chance to strike and to send a message to anyone daring to cross them. Now they pulled up at Ndera's spot armed with all kinds of hammers, big and small. Without warning, they opened fire through the windows, spraying the crowd inside. Now 7 people were laid down, including Ndera himself. Now his young 6-year-old daughter was shot too, but she survived. When police arrived at the crime scene, the shooters had cycled back, watching to see who spoke to the police and the media. One brave witness saw it all and stayed silent that night, but went to the police the next day. But dirty cops, working hand in hand with the Guptas, tipped off the gang about the witness. Fearing for his life, the witness planned to go to the Eastern Cape, hoping to hide with relatives. But even there, he wasn't safe. His aunt warned him that the gang was already looking for him. With nowhere else to turn, he was placed under witness protection. His testimony in court turned the tide. Piri and his co-accused were sentenced to 7 life sentences each. But keep this in mind, in South Africa, a life sentence means 25 years. And after doing half of that 25, you can apply for parole if they allow you to.
The attack on Q166 Khayelitsha, which found the convictions against the accused, was a consequence of a fallout in the battle for Extortion turf, which caused bad blood between the accused and their erstwhile friend Ntera. The accused, together with others, ambushed a now deceased co-extortionist Ntera at his birthday party.
Those who attended were friends and family and did not belong to any gangs.
In a scene reminiscent of the Wild Wild West television series, and I think I'm giving my age away here, the accused, together with others, made a grand entrance, carrying big and small guns, and shot randomly at attendees.
The judge said the attack was brazen and meant to enforce fear in the community.
The observation that I make from the facts of the case before me is that in the black settlement areas of Cape Town, greedy criminals solicit money from business people. If you refuse to pay or cannot afford, they threaten to make your life a living hell, with the result that you could not continue doing business. They would rob you or even kill you.
As for Etu's crew, their reign ended in June of 2024 after a string of bloody shootouts while trying to take over Barra's old stronghold in Site C. Now the arrests crippled the influence, slowing down their momentum and leaving Site C shaken but quieter for a moment. The fall of Khayelitsha's most feared extortion leaders, some dead and others behind bars, has left the turf boundaries wide open. With China and several of his lieutenants now in custody, the Piri group is losing its grip on X section. At the same time, Barra's former stronghold in Site C is slipping out of his cruise control. Both territories are being swallowed up by a powerful new figure tied to the taxi industry and backed by his own associates. The streets are already feeling the shift. Fresh reports of shootings, hits in part of Khayelitsha, Googs, Nyanga and Philippi. Now this war is because the old kingpins are out and the new ones are determined to fight for dominance no matter the cost.